from nice, cool Brisbane, Australia. How are you all around the world? My name is Linda and I'm your messy mama, where we create solutions to problems that you experience as a mum. Now, today we're going to do part 2 of keeping our kids safe on the internet. Now, if you're here for your first time, yesterday we talked about all the practicalities, about what happens behind the scenes and how you can keep up to date with what's going on. And today we need to talk about having the porn chat with our teenagers. Statistically speaking, 8-year-olds are coming across porn on the internet. Obviously, at their level, they do not know what to do with that at all. And our teenagers jump into the stratosphere of actually still not being emotionally or developmentally mature enough to deal with it. Okay? So we need to be the parents that step up to home plate, and we need to hit home runs with our teenagers. And so to get started on our track today, and welcome everyone, we're going to get uncomfortable and we're going to learn to feel okay with being uncomfortable as we go through this process. So key 1, it's a good thing to admit to your teenager that you are uncomfortable talking about this. It's quite normal to admit that you're uncomfortable and how you're feeling. What's not normal is to deny it, ignore it, and pray that you're going to get through it without admitting how you feel. We've got to do this. It's tough work, but it's worth it. Okay, if you have a significant other, partner, spouse, or whoever, before you have this chat, get on board with each other exactly how this chat will unfold, and both of you sit down together and do it together, not sit down and then let the one who's got more courage than the other just take over the show, okay? We've got to be prepared to be uncomfortable in order to achieve results. I mean, look at it from even the business world perspective. Unless you get uncomfortable, get courage and go for it, you don't get into the next phase of your business either. Or even if you're in employment, you've still got to find the courage to do something different to have change, okay? So it's a good thing to tell your teenager that it could possibly be embarrassing for them, but you're even more embarrassed. And certainly from my generation, we were more embarrassed because the talk didn't even happen in our era, okay? It just wasn't around. It was all, everything that's not said got taken more notice of. We have to be aware that our teenagers will be exposed to porn, whether it's indirectly or directly. So they may come across it via their friends, okay, or any number of other ways, or they may seek it out themselves, putting porn into the Google web browser. And if you watch yesterday's video, then we cover how to go through all of that and keep it all open and honest. We have to be realistic that teenagers are normally sexually curious. They do go through a normal period of time of being sexually curious, not just about what is sex, but also about their sexuality. It's all normal, and we have to be able to hold space for them and let them go through their process. One of my kids came to me and they went through many different facets of their sexuality, and I just said, that's okay, we'll deal with that when it comes along. Or we addressed each stage at any given point in time, okay? It's not you will be in this box and that's it. Parents who are doing this and saying you will be in this box and that's it, anything else won't be entered into, you're cutting off your children at an age when they are vulnerable and they need you. Stop doing it, okay? Have the courage to sit down and have emotionally open talks with your children, all right? Just because it didn't happen for you when you were growing up means that you need to be prepared to change the generations that come after you, all right? And we have to understand that in our day, none of this was happening because it was all behind closed doors, you know. R-rated videos, or were they R-rated? R-rated or X-rated? Anyhow, the higher the rating. Hi, Jan. Good to see you. The higher the rating on the videos, so X-rated and stuff, they're behind curtained off areas in a video store. These days, in modern day, the kids have access to it in their own bedrooms if that's what you allow. Okay? So, be real. In our day, doesn't happen anymore. In our day, our parents didn't even talk about sex. My parents never had that talk with me. And my mum, God bless her, she had the talk about when you get your period and stuff, and we were sitting in a darkened room, all right? So we have to be the ones that step up and change with the generations, but also let our kids know that we're there with them, supporting them as they go through all the challenges they face. So then when you get down to the actual talk, so you're over the feeling uncomfortable, acknowledge how your kid's feeling. And look, sometimes your kids won't want to talk about it because they've already learnt a lot at school. So my two youngest ones, we didn't actually have an actual sex talk per se, because they learn about all of it at school and they knew I was open to talking about whatever they needed to talk about, so that was fine. But when it came to having the actual porn chats, we had them, okay? Because we have to be able to step up and keep our kids safe in this environment. Let them know that being sexually curious doesn't make you bad. I'm not going to judge you. We're not going to have trouble over whatever it is you need to discuss and talk through. If they're talking it through, they've got more of an opportunity to know that they've got support in whatever road they've got to travel through, whatever thought process they've got to go through, whatever emotions they're trying to work through. If you're having a challenge as a parent, helping them work through that, then help them. Get a professional. Get a professional that actually specialises in the area and help them through that, okay? This is our job as parents. We need to know out in the big wide world that sexting is basically porn, okay? As our teenagers are not mentally or developmentally prepared for the outcome, okay? So whilst we may think that our 15-year-old is fine, they get it, they're sexting, they're not prepared for the outcome. And the outcomes are that it only takes one kid at school to see them sexting, to take a screenshot and send it around the school, which then, goes out into mass public arena, and your kid will be crushed because they're not ready for the consequences of that, okay? So you have to sit down. Yeah, I'm bossing, aren't I? But we do. I feel so strongly that we have to make these choices to sit down with our kids and explain to them that, okay, if you do this, these are all the various consequences that can happen because you're doing this, all right? And yes, your body, your choice, but use me as your scapegoat. Now, I used to use this with my kids to say, look, if you're ever in a situation at a party, back then it was just about alcohol, and you don't want to drink or you don't want to participate in any of the activities that are going on around you, use me as a scapegoat, ring me, say, I've got to come home. We had code words to say, etc., etc., and so that they weren't spelling it out what was happening. They'd just say a particular word and I'd know to come and pick them up because they felt that they were in an unsafe situation, or they personally didn't want to participate in what was going on. Very important to teach your kids that, okay, that they have a choice. They do not have to participate in what is going on in the environment that is around them, even if it's their friends. They do not have to participate, okay? People cannot be trusted. Yes, they're your bestest of best friends, but they cannot be trusted, okay? You explain to your kids, if you send a selfie with no clothes on and it goes around, how are you going to feel? So sit in that present moment and say, right, How are you going to feel if a nude selfie of you goes all around your school, goes all around the local community, okay? And look, when one of my kids was in high school, they actually had that problem where and this was not just at the local school. This was initiated by a bunch of boys in a boys' school in another state, and they were actually collecting nude selfies of girls from high schools and passing them around. Think very seriously, because it gets bigger than just your local school, okay? It goes bigger, wider, broader, all right? People can't be trusted. Even if you think they can, they can't. So don't ever put yourself in that situation where you've got something nude floating around and you don't know who it's going to end up with. And breakups are bad. Let's face it, when people break up, out comes all the dirt and they share it all around. So just don't put yourself in that situation. I believe there's actually apps where you can stop your kids from sending and receiving photos. It shuts down everything else that they'd like to share and take, etc. But if you've got a kid whose propensity is to do this, then it's going to save them, and that's what you are there for, to make sure that this doesn't happen. Know your kids and know them well. There's also apps where, one of the ones we talked about yesterday, Teen Safe, where you have access to everything, including their location, what they're up to, etc., etc., so you know they are always safe. And it just runs in the background. It doesn't, impinge on what they're doing, but you keep them safe. And that is your role, even when they're a teenager. We've got to keep them safe from themselves, because they're not developmentally developed. Okay, so we keep them safe. Sending a nude to your teenage friend is child porn, i.e. it's against the law, because you are still legally deemed a child. It doesn't matter that you're a teenager and you feel like you can conquer the world and you're an adult and you can take it on and do it all. If they really need the experience of paying the bills, going to work, etc., etc., looking after their siblings, making sure they cook, clean, wash all week, then give it to them so that they can realise that they're not ready to be an adult. So make it an experiential experience in their life, so they really get the hang of the fact that they are not ready to be a 100% full-on adult at this time. Therefore, don't do something that not only is illegal and in some countries will get you it just went straight out of my head again. So you get booked by the police and you actually get put on one of those, in America, you can see if you've got a pedophile living near you or a sex abuser or anyone that's been put on the sex register. So you have to be aware that it will go against your record. So you'll have a record with the law, okay? It's just gone. And it's important that your kids know that in America, that will happen, all right? Which means that, from my understanding, it's impossible to get a passport as well, so you'll never leave the country. Yes, that is exactly right, Jen. The strongest person is the one who says no when everyone else is saying yes. And as a parent, I personally did that. Probably it drove my kids nuts at times, I admit, but to be honest, they've come out of it without all of this scandal happening that went on around them. And it definitely went on around them. There is no way you can keep this secret. So if they're Googling porn, if they're watching porn, if they're acting in such a manner that they're putting themselves out there with sexting and nude photographs, you will not keep this secret. Everything comes out in the end. I mean, just think about us in the old days. I was having tennis lessons with my brother, and must have been my brother's turn, and I was just upstairs in a cafe room of the tennis club and a boy kissed me, and next thing you know, I don't know, days later my mum comes to me and said, you kissed a boy, and I'm like, how do you know, right? And this is in the days where there was no internet, okay, no global community, but my mum still managed to find out. You cannot keep any of this secret. It will come out, and you have to be able to begin to think as a teenager, what is the outcome of when I push this button? What will be every possible outcome when I push this button? And don't be naive to think it's just between you and one other person. As a parent, I will put links below of a number of sites. So there's one that's all the apps that you need to look out for that your kid's on. Remember, Google how to hide an app, because the kids will do it if they know that you're watching out for them. All right, they will try to hide the apps. And educate them that Snapchat, they can be found and the stuff will go around. It doesn't disappear. Your digital footprint does not disappear. Okay? All right. Thanks for joining in today. It's been wonderful to have you here. #replay for those who watch. And I will see you again tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel. And we will talk some more. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.